I've got one that can see.
Logic before authority.
Hi guys, this is Daniel Alexander Cannon here on Logic Before Authority. Got a million things I want to talk about, and I can't get it all out. It would seem the easy answer is just to make a ton more videos, but that's not the way it's been working lately. It's a struggle. But I want to talk to y'all guys today about something that I've talked about before, but yet some of it has, come true. More of it has come true and or come to pass or has fallen. That's actually, fallen actually is referring to materialize, to come to pass, at least according to Hebrew translations. All right, so what are we talking about here? We are talking about Lily, or Elizabeth. We're looking at an image from the, which actually it's the video itself. I can play it, and I probably will play short instances of it. But we're looking at Lily, Queen Elizabeth. Okay, that's who this represents. This represents the queen that just died. So what happens when the queen dies? Okay. Well, this is what happens when the queen dies. There's an eclipse that comes, and then the apple drops. You can see the eclipse. It's symbolized by this corona ring, or this gold ring around her, as well as all the lights going out, and just one beam of light coming down in a circle on the floor. This is an eclipse taking place. You know, kind of like the one that we had back in just a few years ago, 2017 was it? And then we have another one coming. We're talking about total solar eclipse across the United States. We have another one coming in, April 2024, just over a year from now. Okay, so let's continue here. The queen drops the apple, and it goes over and runs into Obama's boot. Right? Runs into Obama's boot. And Obama, he has a fear of apples. I'll just let this play for a second. Most of you have seen this, but it's important to understand. There's a mushroom type thing opening up. Of course, there's many ways to define this, but Obama is scared of the apple dropping. Why is Obama scared of the apple dropping? Well, he told us in a video, didn't he? And I've told y'all guys before, but it's been quite a few years ago, before the queen died. I did a video, and it was related around the subject of the thorny apple. Okay. And it's directly tied to all the symbolism throughout this video. But the apple has dropped. The queen has died. Lily is dead. She's now dead. And the apple has dropped, and it rolled over and hit the foot of a U.S. sitting president. And it rolled across, we could call it many things, but we'll call it the chessboard. Right? The chessboard. We could say checkers, but it ain't checkers. They're playing chess. So it rolled across the checkerboard, which is a game of strategy. It's a game of planning the future, planning the outcome of your destiny or your future. And so when this thing rolls over and hits her foot during an eclipse, or hits his foot during an eclipse, and what this apple represents is many things, but we're going to focus in kind of one area today, and that is it represents a changing of, let's just try to I'm going to try to stick to the main area here. As we all know, yesterday, or let's see, today's the 4th, so we're 3 days out. So this past Saturday going into Sunday, we had, of course, New Year's, and some interesting things happened in New York, because they have an apple that they drop. And yes, I know it shows a ball with a bunch of triangles on it, and I've done deep dives into those, into understanding what those things mean, the symbolism behind the fact that it has a thorny apple, in other words, a pineapple, on many of the things, of the triangles that are on the so-called ball or apple. When they first started it in New York, the Big Apple, they dropped something that looked actually like an apple, but then they changed it to this glowing white ball, which we're going to take a look at some of that here in a second. The apple is the thing, again, that Obama is afraid of. And what is he afraid of? He stated it himself, that he was afraid of, he literally used words, afraid of a apple-sized device, or he called it a nuclear device, that goes off in New York City. Okay. So the apple would have to drop out of the sky, or whatever the symbolism of it, okay? And that's why they show the apple falling, okay? If I go over here to this, what I want to show you is, this is symbolism for this year, but it's also symbolism for what's coming, okay? This is the scenery, or a camera that's filming the year going from 2020. And my computer's acting up. Is it coming back? Hopefully. Yes. Okay, so you got this ball, which is, and I'm just going to state it the way it is. This ball represents a deity falling to earth. And it's interesting that we mentioned Barack Obama, because if you look up what Barack Obama means in Hebrew, you will find out that it means Barak means to fall, and Bama means Barak is like lightning, and Bama means to fall. I believe is the way it actually is. I just looked it up again yesterday or the day before. You notice this video, which you can't see it at the top, but it says, "Where did 2023 go?" You see, when this ball dropped, the sign that says 2023 that normally illuminates, it stayed dark. Matter of fact, as you can see, everything is very dark except for the clock that's striking midnight and the ball that's pulsing like an explosion. And all this, and there goes your explosion. The clock has struck midnight, and the 2023 sign does not illuminate, which is right up here, that's supposed to illuminate. And this article is talking about that. And of course, they've got their excuse for it, that it was taken down in order to do work on it, is what they said down here below. which I know you can't quite see off the left-hand side of the screen there, but it basically says that the numbers, 2023 numbers, were taken down because of construction. Okay. Yeah, right. This is a sign of 2023. And what ultimately is going to happen is what Obama said, that there's going to be an explosion. The apple is going to drop in New York City, at a minimum just that place. And the fact that they don't illuminate 2023 concerns me, but I suspect and have felt that they will, when they do this, they will do it at the strike of midnight, going from one year to the next, yet not knowing which year that is, except for I highly suspect 2028. And which we're all like, ooh, well, that's in the future. It don't even matter. But it does. Because we know the condition that our country's in. Many of us know the direction that they're taking everything. But in order for this country to completely fall, you're going to have some events that would cause a country to completely to fall. And this will be one of the events when they drop the apple in New York. But because the Queen has now died and dropped the apple, we are extremely close to this event. And I could get into explaining this is about genetics. This is about the changing of genetics, the mixing of the seed from the falling ones, the creation of things that they should not be creating, but they are, because they are mimicking and copying God, because they want to be gods. And Satan wants to be like the Most High. Let's see here. See what else we want to specifically talk about. The way this video I picked goes is in between the transitions is where they show you, typically they'll show you where the story is going and they'll show you the truth in the transitions. So like here we've got Obama afraid, right? And then you've got the scene here, which is the flag being torn, and an image of a school letting you know that they're going after the children. And then, of course, this imagery here. But yet this has already happened. This happened in 2001, the two towers, and them combining them back again about DNA, about the building of new DNA. That's why that building is designed the way it is. And you take two and create it into one, which is tied to, oh boy, a whole lot of things. But this is in the past, 2001. But this video was released in 2013, I believe it was, which we've talked about quite a few times. So this happened already, but this video also shows us more of what's coming. The apple fell. He was scared of it in 2013, and then this happened in the Big Apple, of course. But there's more, much more to come. Let's see if I can show you something else I'm thinking about. Hang on just a second. Here in this scene, you can, of course, see what looks like well, it's symbolism for something. It's something that travels through the ocean and has a spear on the end of it, and it cuts off heads. As you can see, that's what it's doing here. But what is this? This is a nuclear submarine. Not that, but that shows you it's coming across the water. This is a nuclear submarine with nukes or large weapons, bombs in it, which you can see as it shows you. Like right here, you can see it's missile heads. Okay, it's weapons. And they show you the truth in some ways here. And I could get into it all, but here you can see that there is another eclipse happening. You see, this is the sun. It's obviously the sun back here. Orange and red and yellow, the sun. And this is eclipse. So now we have another eclipse with a boat coming over the water right outside of where? Outside of here. Again, showing New York City. And New York City falling. And I could get into the sky twisting and all that, but we're trying to keep it direct and specific a little bit more, you might say. So again, symbolism of the Statue of Liberty falling and New York falling. And like I said, this is all about DNA manipulation. Okay? Here's an egg-like image. Oops, let me back up again. Here's the egg-like image showing us what will be going on at the same time, which is already happening right now to this moment, which is the destruction of the children, the destruction of the lineage of DNA, which is the original DNA that our Father gave us, our true Father, our one and only Father in heaven. But yet, they want to control it. They want to destroy it. And who is it? Well, you could call it a lot of things. But they call it Draco, or other names related to Satan, Lucifer. And man, this is so disturbing. But if we let this play again for a second and go through the transition, it'll show us where the new DNA is coming from. Where is the new DNA coming from? It's coming from the past. The new DNA that's being incorporated back into us, the people. Not me, not you, hopefully, but the people. It's coming from the past, from knowledge gained back in the Egyptian times. And the knowledge comes from the fallen angels that fell, that manifested, that became real in our world. And again, if we move forward just a little bit more, here we back with the egg head being destroyed by, which you can see the needles and the pills laying on the ground down here, all the potions of pharmakia and many other weapons, but you can see that this is a cracked person, a fractured person, an altered person is what the symbolism is here. Confused, delusional, lost, to who? Draco. And what did they call Draco? What did they call this guy in this video? They call him Draco. And this is, again, the fallen. Most people don't realize that this fallen, that this blood still pumps through the veins of the ancestors of Draco, still exists and pumps through veins of human beings on this planet today. As you may remember, Queen Elizabeth and her royal family crest was and has the image of the dragon on it. And the dragon is all over the city in symbolism there as well. It is exactly what it looks like. Meaning they're saying we are of. Our power comes from the great red dragon. That's what it means. And what does their power manifest through? What is their strongest attribute? You can see it on Draco's face. It's the control of money. They control the money system, so therefore they pretty much control most of the world. There's also more imagery here that's, again, about being damaged and fractured. It's just going back to the original DNA. And of course, all of these images are blasphemous. Absolutely. But going from showing the damaged DNA of the original creator is part of what this is about, but nowhere near all of it. But as you've seen it transition to this, as you can see, everything in the scene is fractured. It's all broken ice. It's all broken. It's fractured. And her body's all scratched up, scarred up, marked up. And of course, her eyes are red, as in red dragon. You have the skull and bones over here on the arm. And you have a man here sitting in his jockey underwear. And her lights go out. This has a lot to do with the MK Ultra program and how they have, just basically kidnapped tens of thousands, if not more, children over time, running tests on them because they know that there are humans that have capabilities and powers that the human as a child at the age of about 5 to 8 years old has the ability to be able to, when extremely fearful, they can access these capabilities. Okay. If you remember the movie Monsters, Inc., it was about monsters that lived in a factory, and the factory was about collecting screams. And the monsters would go through doorways, portals, into the bedrooms of the children and scare the children to death, because that is how they could get the children to express powers, special coded DNA powers that are, I'm trying to think of the right word to use, unknown, I guess, that are the average people do not understand that these things exist, such as being able to control electricity, being able to control the mind of another person to implant thoughts, being able to, even as so far as to put a cloak around themselves or an impenetrable barrier where you, and very, really strange things, but that these powers exist and that they're real. And they've got a lot of these people out there like that are programmed and that they're using for events that take place, especially across the United States, but in other places, in other countries in the world as well. They're using these MK mind-bent, fractured individuals. You can see the symbolism for the fracturing right here. I'll pull it back over here. Right there. Oops. Sorry. See the fracturing of the mind right here. And if we back out just a tiny bit, you can see who does the fracturing. See right here? The dragon does the fracturing. I'm surprised it's not red, but I imagine that green color means something as well. It's symbolism, but I don't know what it is. But they're able to fracture the mind. Okay? And well, how do they do it? They use fear and many other things, but they also use frequency, which is what the snowflakes are symbolism for here. It's about frequency, mind manipulation. Also, I want to point out, for those of you who've seen my last video, the hat that he is wearing. He's wearing a conical hat. If you've seen my last video, you'll understand why I'm bringing that up. Does it mean Draco? D for Draco? Or D for dunce? It means D for Draco. This is a conical symbolism. And the other symbolism that is related to that as well is this one. The cube, the graduation hat. Of Obama. This is about mind control, and not only about mind control, but it's symbolism and a hint, especially this one that shows you the D, which is for Draco, which is the dragon, which has been used to split the minds of many children. You see, they are in a classroom. Symbolism for a classroom anyways, right? Hopefully some of this is making sense for you guys, because not all of it makes sense to me, even. In this upcoming scene here in a second, I'm going to show you. This is showing you their red-headed savior coming. Likely tribe of Dan, red-headed, that will show up on the scene at some point. It's pretty obvious from my research, and as well as their symbolism here, that he will be red-headed. But how will he come forth? Let's see, he's coming forth. And it has to do with the fracturing of the minds somehow. You see, the serpent is in the head, in the symbolism, the egghead. And the fracturing, they're being chastised, they're being scared to death. And then snap. I can't explain all this, exactly what it means, but I do know that these are windows, aka portals, just like the computer you're on is a controlled portal, or the screen you're looking at, because it's allowing you to see across time and space from my little setup here to you. That's why Microsoft calls it Windows. But this is coming across time from the past. This is where this character is coming from. He's coming from the past. He's in an Egyptian boat. He's red-headed. He's from the tribe of Dan. And if I'm wrong about anything I'm saying here, feel free to correct me with what you understand to be a better understanding in the comments, because I have no intention to deceive anyone. So coming from the past, and he comes in. What does he come into? He comes into the human body. You can look at this and you can see, I see several things when I look at this image. But I see the fire. See, the whole body is fire here. But it's inside of a body. It's inside of a human body. And ultimately, as it moves forward here, you can see that ultimately you're ending up inside the brain itself. You can see the imagery for brain material and such here. You can also see let's see if I can back it up just a little bit. Go back forward. You can also see the imagery of, well, let me go a little bit further forward. Stop right there. See this face in the water? The eyes? And then you have the head, the forehead up here. This is symbolism of the forehead, the light, the fire that exists inside of all of us. But the brain is fractured. And they're trying to do this to all of us, and we know this. What we just experienced in the last 2 years, was that not a bit traumatic to all of you? I know it was to me. It definitely was. So you can see even the rock, when it falls, it hits him in the forehead. And then here comes Shiva dancing. The same Shiva that they show dancing inside of the toroidal field that is at CERN. She's dancing inside of the same thing that I've personally seen angels flying in their chariots, which are most of the things that people record and put on YouTube, where they see the lights coming and going in the skies, where they'll turn on and turn off, or they'll multiply. And they're coming and going from inside and outside of portals. As crazy as all this sounds, 10 years of in-depth research tells me that it's not only real, it's very real. It is absolute. So here we have this being here, or this icon representing Shiva dancing. It's the same one that Bush spoke about when he said, Bush Jr., I think it was, he said, "Do you not know that an angel dances in a whirlwind and controls this storm?" What is the storm? Well, ultimately the storm is God's creation, which is the earth and heavens, which are in the image of a Taurus, and they know this. They know a lot of the secrets of our Father by a great amount of study. Even in Psalms it says that they study the leaves and the way the branches grow and the way the water moves, and they study it and then they copy it. And when they have enough time, they're able to figure it out, especially if they have help from Draco. So she dances her storm. She's got a very unusual hat on her head and these things that go around her ears, which is all about the magic that they're using to conjure the results that they want. And in this video, he continues to move forth. He is inside of the temple, which is you. He's inside of the human head. And then they show this thing, which again goes back to alteration of the human being. What they want to do is they want for themselves, they want to be God, and they want to live forever. And they believe they can do this and they can accomplish it. But they have to put a halt to the current way that humans reproduce through, normal sexual intercourse and making of the babies. And they believe they know how to do this, to artificially create human beings, and they're basically putting it out in the open. You can pull it up. They're building baby factories right now. Why? Because the reproduction numbers of the world are falling dramatically. Humans as a whole are falling right now. When the Bible says there'll be a great falling away, it means not in just one way, but many ways. Human beings are being sterilized using little pricks, you might say. Not like the one shown here exactly, because it's showing a different kind of prick. But I'm talking about the kind of prick for your arm. And they're able to do what? Well, let's see. Let's go forward and see what they're able to do. And if you've never seen this before, I'm not going to show a part that's coming up here in just a second. But they are symbolizing the natural way of human reproduction. They're symbolizing it as it's a witch or a feminine power. And they're showing that they are going to destroy it. They're going to take away, well, I'll show this. I got to this is really what I didn't want to show. And I showed this years ago, and I was right, many years ago. You see the 3 X's on her shoe, okay? The 3 X's have to do with the altering of the DNA to take away the need for a male in order for reproduction to take place. There would only be need for the female side, and likely the introduction of new instructions, via the prick. New instructions for the human body and as a whole. But they want to ultimately, you see all the little marks on the board back here? Sounds like, something a teenager would do, putting marks on the head of his bed, his conkers, right, of women and stuff. And I'm sure women do that too, but what they're doing is they're symbolizing the taking away of the divine method of procreation that God currently has for us. Because as you can see, she dries up, and then it immediately goes to what's seen? Birth. The water. This is a Vesica Pisces image here, which is a extremely highly significant image, the Vesica Pisces. This door opening here, just like on all the doors at most of your Catholic churches, are all in the shape, and the buildings typically are in the shape of the female body. Because, well, unfortunately, the Catholic Church at the top and most of the way down, without their parishioners' knowledge, is owned and ran by Draco, Satan, Lucifer, whatever you want to call him. He has many names, just like the giants in the Bible. And the first book of the Bible has many names. And until you understand he has many names, you don't understand that the whole First Testament basically is about fighting the fallen angels, the bloodline of the dragon, coming into the people and creating giants with conical heads. But here we are. Things have been altered, things have been fractured, things have been broken, but now we're going to birth via the Vesica Pisces, which is the image of the point of creation. The female body has the image of this as well. It has to do with two circles overlaying each other. It has to do with the section in the middle is the symbolism of the torus, and the center of the torus, which is the point of creation, which in a woman's body is the vagina, and her uterus. So we've got the new creation taking place here, the birth, the breaking of the water, of course, them celebrating. And these right here are semen. You notice that it transitioned from the birth of the death of the normal way of reproducing. And that birth takes place, and then we see the semen. And that's what this represents, is semen, sperm. Not semen as in ocean-dwelling men, but semen. And actually we are ocean-dwelling, water-dwelling beings. But that's maybe another subject. You can see that they're all fading. They're fading away, being washed away. The destruction of reproduction, the way God has us at this point. You can see it goes up, comes down, destruction. And then great celebration and so on. The task has been done. The fracturing has taken place. There's no more need for creation as it was before. And then Father Time playing his music. It's all an amazing thing, isn't it? And I know many of you might not understand what I'm saying, and maybe I don't understand completely what I'm saying. But I've dedicated my life to understanding it, to great sacrifice. Literally, my whole life has been sacrificed because of this. But I love the truth so much. and I love my fellow man so much, and my fellow women, of course. I can't go back and just pretend I don't know what I know. To pretend I don't know that I have a purpose here. And my purpose right now, and has been for quite a while, is doing this kind of stuff and explaining things and letting you guys know what my purpose is, and that I can see things and I know things and I'm being shown things, literal visions, and I could go way more into it, and I'm sure I will very soon, probably, because I want y'all guys to know. All right. So they're dancing and they're swirling. This is called a Sufi dance, and he swirls to symbolize the turn of the torus, the turn of the heavens, the spinning of the stars. And it also, there's a lot of hints as to where all this comes from, the power of this comes from. And it's from the Middle East. It is all remnant of what took place on Mount Hermon a long time ago. But yet, it still lives. It was, and is not, and yet is. They still exist. They're still out there. Their blood is still pumping. And they're going to use this DNA method to reach back, if they have not already, because we have a few candidates for what will be the Antichrist, which will be the son of Satan, born into our earth once again. It's just a matter of time, and he will come out of the bottomless pit, which I could explain in a number of different ways. But let's just say that time does not have, at least in our world, it does not have and I know what you would think, so I'll correct myself, but I'll say it, time does not have a beginning or an end. So they're going to reach back in time when it comes to DNA, and they're going to bring this son of Satan, because that's what Satan wants to be, is like God. He wants to create, he wants to copy, he wants to counterfeit God, and he will do that by bringing his own son into the world to be worshipped. And they will worship him and see him as their Savior. He will be likely of, how would you say, it will appear the way it will come, and I don't know how this is going to work, but his DNA will be as if it was a virgin birth. And I say he loosely because he may be it. Something that does not reproduce the same way anymore, if you know what I'm saying, based on the information that I shared with you here. If you want to understand what Satan is going to do, you just need to understand that he wants to be like God. and that he wants to create things just like God has done and just like God has plans for. He wants to copy, and he's going to do that just like when the Antichrist, which is the son of Satan, will step forward. And we're not far off of him stepping forward. He's likely here, and he's likely a teenager right now. But will come on the scene, and all the power of the dragon will be given to him to appear as if he is a savior, and he will do wonderful things and miracles and signs. And he will lead the sheep off the cliff. He will likely be very tall, in excess of my height, which is 6'2". He will likely be much taller. He will appear as he is a giant. And I can't say that I don't realize that Barron Trump is nearly 7 foot tall now. He towers over Donald. Donald being the word for the king of the world, and Donald having a father name, or his middle name was Christ, and his mother's name was Mary. And he has all the murals in his gold 66th floor Trump Tower of a white horse and a being riding the white horses. He's got paintings. His whole ceiling is painted in it. You can go look it up. And I've shown it before. He may be that one. Or there may be a number of them to come in that image before the actual one comes forward. Just like the Bible says, there are many antichrists. And what do the followers of a God do, whether it be our God or theirs? They like to do things to please that God, right? Well, for them, they like to make idols to their God because that's a rule that our God says you can't do. They like to make idols to it. They like to make images. That's what an idol is. It's an image. That's why the word image in the book of Revelations, when it talks about the image of the beast, that's why it's so important to understand what an image is and what it can be in so many ways. It's like saying you can take an apple and cut it up 1,000 different ways, but yet all of those ways, when you cut it up and look at it, are still in the image of the apple. Hopefully you understand. We'll let it play a little bit more here. They're celebratory. These are a representation of angels. You see the star on his chest, that is saying this is an angel, kind of like Shiva as she dances in the storm. This is what this is. This is a representation of the storm with the fire inside. And of course, we get to this point where the actual birth is finished and the second son is born. We may see this manifest in many ways. We may see something that appears to be a bright star. Just like when they were looking for Christ before he was born, or when they said he was to be born, what were they following? They were following the star. And when they followed the star, they found Christ. It's because even Christ says in the Bible that stars are angels. I can prove it to you, but it's better if you go prove it to yourself. If you just run a search for the word star and angel in the Bible, you'll find it. But this is the second son, and I said this years ago again, and I'm more convinced than ever that I'm right. The second son, the son of Satan, the Antichrist. And we're right in the process of the destruction of the semen, aren't we? We're right in the process of the invasion of the body, aren't we? And we are right in the process of the fracturing of the minds, aren't we? And we are right in the process, of course, of the breaking of the minds of the people. We are very close to the culmination of many things. We've even seen this already. The symbolism of Notre Dame, Our Lady, burning to the ground, or at least the roof, the head, the crown being destroyed. And guess what they found underneath? They claim they found it in the crypt underneath Notre Dame were mummies with strange shaped heads. Nothing's new under the sun. It's the same as it was then as it is now. And it's going to be a lot of destruction. This is again symbolizing of New York City being destroyed. There's going to be a lot of destruction, but we are the true children of God, of our God, the only one God, the true God that sits on the throne in heaven, not the God of the underworld that was cast into the earth, or cast into the world, WHIRLED. We are the children of the true God, and you just need to do everything you can to not wander after and follow after and engage the beast. You need to disengage in every way you possibly can. And yes, there's going to come a time when we're going to have to disengage from the internet completely. Because what is the internet? The internet is the artificial creation of the hive mind. Say it again. The artificial creation of the hive mind. They are working through the stuff that I just showed you and talked to you about. They are working to create the hive mind within these people's bodies as well, so that they can be controlled by the air, the frequencies coming out of the cell. What do you think they call them? Cell towers. And what do we know about towers and being a bad thing? We know a lot. As a side note, I recently started seeing the purple lights showing up here locally. I'm sure many of you are seeing them out there driving through town at night. And there are these purple What's the word I'm looking for? Like heliotrope color, which is Heliofont, the name of these people who made this, right? Heliofont. It's like a matter of fact, it's the color, some of the colors that's in this scheme right here. Purple, kind of a purple color. It's the color of what they consider to be royalty or color of God. And of course, they use everything that is of God in every way blasphemous that they can to gain power, because they don't like to do it the way that our God has instructed us to do it, which is to be kind and to be loving and to be humble. And we will find our way to where God's destiny for us is. They want to change that. They want to live forever. They want to be the God. And in the end, for them, they're going to lose everything, including the second death. In this scene right here, too, let's take a look. You see what we've been trained to call meteors coming in. These are not meteors coming in. This is how let's just say I saw Satan fall like lightning. They showed us this, and I showed you this in the Iris World videos, where they show how the Terminators, the fallen ones, come into the world. They come in a flame like this, like these. And what they're doing is they're ultimately coming through gateways, and they're coming into our world in a torus field, basically, is how they're able to. It's the word for chariot from the Bible. And that's why they depicted them with wings and stuff, because they flew. They had the power of flight, the power of the air, power of many things, not just the air. They also showed us in the Transformer movies, when the Transformers, the fallen ones, the superheroes, the ones with special DNA, how they come down, don't they? All right. Let's see. I think that's going to be it for this video. There's so many other things I could talk about. Although I will say this real quick. The Queens dropped the apple, and they claim she died on 8/8/222. 8/8, September the 8th. The number 88 is so significant in all of this. For instance, it has to do with time. It has to do with the Ouroboros and the crossing of time. Like when you draw an 8, normally you cross the 8 in the middle, which might have something to do with my study on the letter X itself, the cross there. But it has to do with that. Not to mention in gematria what it means. And you'll notice too that it says here that she was born, you can't quite see it, it's off the screen just a little bit. But it says, well, let me move this. There you go. See, it says place of death, Balmoral Castle. So this is a castle dedicated to Baal. Baal is another word, again, for the one that is called by many names, just like God is. And the reason why there's so many names is because we've had so many countries and tribes and nations over the years, and that's why in the First Testament, first book of the Bible, that's why the Raphaim, the fallen angels, the Nephilim, the fallen ones, they're all called by so many different names. It's because of the different names that were given to them at the time based on what they were seeing and based on their language. You know, if you see something that looks like a frog, you'd probably call it something close to a frog. One of the tribes was called the Hivites, Hive, H-I-V, Hivites. And I can imagine why they were called the Hivites. And there's reasons for all the names that they chose, just like the name of this, Balmoral Castle, is where it says she died at. Do I believe she died on September the 8th? I doubt it. I think she died in 2019, right before the demonic rolled out, or the pandemonic, be more appropriate. Pan, one of their gods, horned gods, that was altered in DNA. Yeah. All right, let's see if I got any other thing real quick for you. This is some of the conical head stuff. Comparison between a really old red-headed skull and ours. A difference in the way the sutures or stitches or the way the bones come together on the head. They're very, very different. And I'm studying all of this stuff in great depth. And then praying for discernment to understand what the real truth is, and because there are deceptions everywhere you look, as well as truths. It's pretty much all out there, and more to come. But I ask that you hold tight, keep praying, keep believing in your Father that He will lead you out without harm, and He will. Now, there's none of us going to escape this place alive, but our whole life we've been made afraid to die. It's always a fearful thing. I doubt that that's the truth about dying. When you strive to be a better person and be a child of God and do the things that we know we're supposed to do and not do. I love you guys. I love all of you. And I know that y'all guys, even though we can't see each other, still have love and affection for each other. And we're only going to be here for a short more time before we're going to have our own celebrations. Our Father in heaven loves you too. And we'll talk to you again real soon. Good night for now.